Do you even know that Nubia from the ancient Sudan were among the pharaohs that ruled in the ancient Egypt, precisely in the 25th dynasty of ancient Egypt? The Nubia kings ruled Egypt for less than 100 years, that is less than a century, and their influence lasted centuries. Once vassal to pharaohs, the Kushite kings of Nubia took control of Egypt for almost a century. Embracing Egyptian rituals, they created a culture that influenced both civilizations. South of Egypt, the Nile meanders through a vast desert landscape. The ancient region of Nubia, which now belongs to Sudan. Since antiquity, Nubia's fortune has been marked by the presence of 6 cataracts along the Nile. At this point, the rocky riverbed forces the Nile water to swirl into mighty rapids, making uninterrupted navigation impossible. This is why for long periods throughout history, Nubia remained isolated from its powerful northern neighbor, Egypt. But starting in the 8th century BC, Nubia pharaohs from a Kushite kingdom, now in the northern Sudan, ruled Egypt. For more than 100 years, they revived and adapted ancient Egyptian customs, influencing the development of Egypt for centuries to come. The Nubia kings of the Kushite Empire, during the era known as the Third Intermediate Period, between 1075 to 715 BC, Egypt's government was in the throes of political chaos and decline. Nubia was left fairly free of pharaonic intervention, and several new independent Kushite kingdoms flourished. In one of these, near the Fourth Cataract, a dynasty of rulers emerged in the mid-8th century BC, this time establishing the kingdom's capital at Napata and a necropolis at nearby El Kuru. The rulers of this Kushite kingdom who eventually governed those who have once controlled them, even becoming pharaohs of Egypt themselves. This black basalt slab, which has greatly enhanced scholars' understanding of Egyptian theology, was inscribed on the order of the 25th dynasty Kushite king Shabaka. It contains the only known documented version of the Memphite theology, a religious text underpinning the Egyptian vision of creation, which describes how the god Ptah created woman. Shabaka is said to have discovered an old papyrus bearing the text and ordered it transcribed onto the stela. The object reflects the eagerness of Kushite kings to convince Egyptians, especially in Memphis, of Nubia respect for Egyptian culture. It was likely later used as a milestone, causing the central hole and radial incision, and was brought to the British Museum in 1805, where its faint inscription was translated almost a century later. Let's talk about this conqueror. This new Kushite kingdom was founded by 2 kings, the Halara and the Kushta. This name sounds like a Yoruba name, Alara. And Kufta. Kafta's son, Pa, later pushed the empire's boundaries as far as Elephantine, or present-day Aswan, thereby bringing Lower Egypt under Kushite control. Pa also set his sights on Upper Egypt, and around 727 BC launched a military expedition in which he took Hermopolis and sacked Memphis. But Pa returned to Napata without consolidating Kushite dominion over Egypt. That mission will be accomplished by his successor, Shabaka. That some people call him Shabaku, and Shebiku, aka Shabataka, as representative of a new Egyptian dynasty. The 25th, these Nubia kings moved their capital to Thebes and secured control of the country as far north as the Nile Delta. The most renowned pharaoh of the 25th dynasty was undoubtedly Taharka, brother of Shebiku. Many scholars believe Taharka is the Kushite king Tiharka, mentioned in the Bible's books of Isaiah. Regarding the invasion, the Assyrian king Sennacherib launched against Judah. Now, Sennacherib received a report that Taharka, the king of Cush, was marching out to fight against him. This can be confirmed from the 2 King, chapter 19, verse 9. From Egyptian sources, it appears that under the reign of Shebuku, Taharka has been charged with supporting the kingdom of Judah against Assyrians. In the end, Jerusalem did not fall into Assyrian hands, a fact the Bible attributes to the Lord answering Hezekiah's prayers. The angels of the Lord went out and put to death 185,000 in the Assyrian camp. So Sennacherib, king of Assyria, broke camp and withdrew. This can be also confirmed in the 2 King, chapter 19, from verse 35 to 36. Taharka, the builder, insisted his claim to power was not only hereditary but also divine. On a stela from the temple of Amun at Kawa, it declares, "I received the diadem in Memphis after the falcon went up to heaven, and my father Amun has ordered for me that every land be placed under my feet." Hey. This alludes to the fact that the Pharaoh has succeeded his predecessor after his death. The identity of the kings associated with the falcon, in other words, with the god Horus, who is often linked with another falcon god, Hermen, isn't specified, but the phrase likely refers to Shebuku, who according to the same stela loved him more than all his brothers. This illustration by artist Gregory Marches for National Geographic in 2008 recreates a religious parade led by the pharaoh Taharka in Jabal-Baka. The procession featured the sacred boat with the image of the god Amun on board. It has just set off from the temple of Amun, built at the foot of the sacred mountain Jabal-Baka. What distinctive pinnacle was seen as having the shape of a rearing Uranus, an upright cobra just below the mountain's summit. The king had ordered a panel engraved with a gold-plated inscription bearing his name to commemorate his victories over enemies from the east and west. The dua unreal on Taharka's headdress represent the two lands, which means the upper and the lower Egypt, over which he reigned. As high priest of Ammon, Taharka wears a leopard skin cloak and carries a staff. Behind him walks his wife rattling sistrum. During Taharka's reign, which lasted almost 26 years, the Pharaoh commissioned numerous monuments and religious buildings. In Thebes, he added new space to the great temple of Ammon at Karnak, notably a structure called the Kiosk of Taharka in the first courtyard. He has the sanctuary of Ammon at Napata, rebuilt and constructed a temple to Ammon at Kawa in about 680 BC. In the Kawa sanctuary, a commemorative inscription read, "Mark you, my mind is on building the temple's compound of my father." Amuri of Kawa, because it is built of bricks and covered with earth. As you can see, we are going to show you, you can see it in the video now. Taharka has his burial pyramid built in Nuri, on the opposite bank from the necropolis at El Kuru, where his ancestors live. What prompted the location change is unclear, but it's likely that the site of necropolis was linked to Jababaka, the pure mountain of Napata, a natural sandstone butte that dominated the Nubia capital. The pinnacle of this mound, reaching a height of almost 250 feet, was said to resemble a rearing cobra, a symbol of royalty. When seen from Jababaka on Egyptian New Year's Day, the sun seemed to rise directly over the pinnacle of the pyramid of Taharka. Since the holiday coincided with the annual regenerative flooding of the Nile, this linked Taharka with not only the sun god, Re, but also Osiris, the god of the afterlife and fertility. The temple of Amun-Re at Kawa, discovered in 1931 in present-day Sudan, contain stelae that celebrate Taharka's deed as Pharaoh of Egypt. The temple of Amun-Re at Kawa, discovered in 1931 in present-day Sudan, contains stelae that celebrate Taharka's deed as Pharaoh of Egypt. One presents him as a warrior who sent forth his arrow that he may have power over chiefs, who tramples evil underfoot in pursuit of his enemies. With belly grace in his strong arm, who slaughters hundreds of thousands, at the sight of whom every face is astonished. Another relates how Taharka brought about miraculous flood through his petition to Amun-Re. His Majesty has been praying for an inundation from his father Amun-Re in order to prevent famine. When the time for the rising of the inundation came, it continued rising greatly each day, and it passed many days, rising at rate of 1 cubit every day. The land was private waters. Let's talk about the legacy of Taharka. The death of Taharka in 664 BC marked the decline of Nubian rule over Egypt. Taharka has already lost control of Lower Egypt to Ashurbanipal in 667 BC. Taharka's successor, his nephew, Tamani, briefly regained control of Upper Egypt before being defeated once again in 663 BC by Ashurbanipal. Tamani was forced to return to Nubia, where he remained until his death. After the fall of the 25th dynasty, the new kingdom of Meroe was established in Nubia, tending the flame of Egyptian culture until the 4th century AD. There, the temple of Naga, where Nubian divinities such as the lion's god, Apidemak, are represented alongside the Egyptian god Horus, exemplify the syncretic culture, the Kushite foster, and the ways in which Nubia and Egypt are forever linked. Here is the mountain Jababaka, as you can see. So these are the short history about the Nubian kings, their role in the ancient Egyptian. They were among the pharaohs that I mentioned. They were among the 170 pharaohs that ruled in the ancient Egypt. Yeah, thank you. This is another fantastic history. Please help me to share it. Let many benefit, let many know about this history. We are talking about the history of Africa. We are talking about the history of Africa. So we Africa, let's propagate our history. Let's propagate our history. We are the light to the world. Yes, our history is very rich. It's very rich. Even the Europeans knows. They know. So let's propagate our history. Thank you.